Welcome to 40k Casuals, a podcast all about Warhammer 40k filmed in 3 different time zones by 3 different gents. At the start of 10th edition, we take a break from Kill Team to talk Warhammer 40k Big Hammer. Enjoy.
Well, it's the dawn of something slightly new.
Is it the age of Aquarius?
No, that's next week. This is a new podcast that is following on, if you've ever seen or heard these voices before, it's Rhys and Russ from formerly the Kill Team Casuals.
Oh.
But still will be Kill Team Casuals as well going forth. But we're branching out a little bit. And we're trying out a little bit of 40k content because 10th edition is here. It's kind of a big deal, and it's never been more Kill Team adjacent, I think, than it has been now. So, of course, my co-host is Russ from GFN Gaming, who does amazing narrative and battle reports on his channel. He's a good guy, and they're well worth the check. No 40k ones yet, but who knows? The future's bright.
I can't believe you're calling me out. Episode 1 of 40k Casuals, you're calling me out for the lack of 40k content. How dare. Yeah, sure. I think 40k will be certainly something that's going to be on the channel. I mean, technically, it's already on the channel, 40k, but Big Hammer as they call it, that might be something that's going on. And my other co-host, or not my other co-host, my co-host here, Rhys from Threes to Wound. Currently a Kill Team focused channel. However, I guess maybe along with the old 40k Casuals, something that you might consider, possibly, if not.
Yeah, well, look, it's exciting. We've also usually got our third fellow co-host / occasional guest host, Ben from Battle Brothers Tabletop, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. Once you become used to the show, you'll also get used to that, though. He's like the wind. You just open up the gate and you let him in, and if he goes, you don't close the gate because you'll never see him again.
It's going to roll.
Yeah.
A landslide.
Leave it open for him and let him.
Landslide will get you.
Come and go. Obviously, yes, Battle Brothers tabletop fame again, another big Kill Team channel. But we've had a lot of chats amongst us and between us about 40k content, and I guess approaching it from our standpoint, which is, as always, a very casual brand.
Yeah, the old Kill Team. How is a Kill Team player? Because I must admit, I've been caught up in the old buzz around Leviathan or 10th edition. It's caught me. It's caught me up. I have been dragged in. I bought the box set. Initially, I was thinking, I've got a big Tyrannid force from 7th edition, maybe.
Oh my!
A past edition ago. I got a Tyrannid force. I've had a few armies in the past that have come and gone through eBay. I'm currently getting rid of the last vestiges of my 7th edition Death Guard army because I was one of those poor suckers that went in hard on Death Guard. You know what? You know what the real embarrassment is? I went so hard in a Death Guard. I'm surprised I still live. I went onto Forge World. This was back when Chaos Space Marines were still rubbish.
Yes.
Looking, they were pretty good to play with. I thought they had great rules, but I got the specific Forge World Death Guard torsos. And I think this was on the cusp of 8th edition. And as you can all remember, 8th edition launched with a brand new Death Guard, all brand new Death Guard units.
A big glow up.
Big glow up. So I've decided not to do that. I'm not focusing on any one army. I bought the box set, but I'm not going hard on any new content just yet. I am just using the box, which is fully built.
Oof.
I hold myself up there in the small percentage. I have no idea how to play the game. I have no idea, but I've built everything in the box set so far. I've not opened the rule book at all, but I am keen. But Rhys, you have played a bit of this new edition, 10th edition. Question 1: are you calling it 10th or do you call it Leviathan at the moment?
Ooh, I say 10th. Just because
that makes sense to me.
I'm future-proofing. My own content, my own life, my own vocabulary. I'm just future-proofing myself.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's exciting for me about all this is I was one of those people like I think nearly every Warhammer player ever, played it a lot when they were sort of younger. You know, when you got in, you actually couldn't paint. You had no idea what you were doing, couldn't really afford it. But you loved the idea of it, and you saw the stores, and it looked really cool. So I was like, way back when the Marines had like bolters nailed to their chests. I think we've talked about cardboard dreadnoughts before.
Oh man, I used to love them. I saw someone selling stuff on eBay, and it was the cardboard dreadnought, and then someone also had the Warhammer Fantasy, the same. I think it was 5th edition. Yes. I can't remember, but the cardboard rock lobber and the cardboard griffin. Oh, the dude Carl Franz on the
yes.
Yeah, and I thought, man, like someone was wanting ridiculous prices for them, but I was so tempted. I'd be like, I could probably just print them off and back them on the card. But like, I was just like,
original 3D so printer, cool. Just using a printer.
Yeah, man, that's such a good. But it's so good, just done.
So so I did that and then got back into it. Right, I think it would have been the tail end of 8th edition. So when the Death Guard new models were still prevalent.
The Death Glow.
But I think for me, the thing was at that point I wasn't like hobby ready. I didn't have a group of people to really play with yet. And I wasn't ready. So actually that's what got me into Kill Team first. That was my gateway into actually playing some games, was playing the Kill Team 2019, I think was that what we called the previous one?
Oh my god, we just called it Kill. You know what? I think back in the day we just called it Kill Team, and then everyone was like, actually 4th edition 40k had a Kill Team, so this is 2nd edition. But yeah, I think a lot of people, I think I had the same journey. I didn't really know about Kill Team. I was collecting before Kill Team launched. I got back I had a massive hiatus. You know, when you get into the hobby when you're little. My brother was into it, and he had 2nd edition, which is so cool because he actually bought me like a couple of Christmases ago. He bought me the 2nd edition box.
Oh wow!
But minus the cardboard dread, which someone obviously just sold on eBay for a mint. Obviously,
send it back. It's not worth it. What a waste!
I spit on it and I throw it in his face. Give me something else. But yeah, no, he my God. But like, I remember playing that, like oh my God, I used to love it and hate at the same time. The vehicle, it's probably, I'm sure there was other editions that did vehicle rules like this, but it was like every weapon had an arc. Wherever you hit the vehicle, it made a massive difference.
Yes.
But so I got into that, and then I went away into uni, stopped doing, high school, you didn't touch it. Uni didn't touch it, got into music, bands, that kind of stuff. And then had a mate, went back home, had a mate who kind of like pulled me back into it. And that was about 7th edition that I started getting back into it. So I started collecting stuff, but quite loosely. And I would play a bunch of 7th editions just in time for the mate that got me back into it to swear off G-dubs entirely and just be like, I hate G-dubs. We're never going to play those games again. And I was like, got an Eldar army. I hear they were pretty good.
What do I do now with this?
But I was into the hobby by then, and I was back into the lore. So I started painting it. But like you, I had an army go, and I was just like, I'm into the hobby in general. I was about the time I was looking at like, should I look at a local club? Because there's a couple of local clubs, and I went down for a couple of games. And as I was going down for a couple of games, Kill Team, the first one, launched, and I was like, this is a lot less investment. Boom. But yeah, my initial love was the 40k world and lore, and there's nothing better than rolling a shed load of dice.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. 2 mitts of dice.
Yeah, 2 mitts, and you just try, and you're dropping them as you go, and I'll re-roll that, and you just throw it at the dice tray. I think that's probably the most exciting part. There's no, I'm just rolling 4 attacks here. No, I'm rolling 48s with a reroll.
48. Boom. That's the thing. And you know what? That is such a big appeal, but also the big units. Like, because everyone's got a big unit there, and I've done a few boss battles in my kill team times just to get them some play, because they're not currently supported. Not even a dreadnought is supported in kill team. I love a dreadnought, like old school dreadnought.
The short legs, big torso, the full can't turn properly.
Skip leg day, but he's done all the arm days. So this is a good question, because in the chat we've got Necrofire. Kill Team can be taught in 20 minutes, and I want to ask Rhys, as someone who's played 10th edition now, and someone I would say I am pretty wargaming savvy. I can read a rule book and pretty much understand. I mean, I know G-Dubs really presses that to the limit. It certainly has done in previous editions. Ninth edition for me was, it felt a little bit oppressive with the amount of books you had to read. 100%. So which is why getting into automatic pilot, getting into Kill Team, getting into 40k now, Big Hammer, when it's just getting rolling, feels to me the only time that I'm going to guarantee that I'll give it a fair shot. Because prior to this, in ninth edition, I looked at it and just thought, that's too big a buy-in. I might love the game, but I'm not willing to buy in on a chance. 10th edition, you've played it. How easy is it to pick up? Now, well, I assume most people know the fundamentals of a G-Dubs style game. The whole. How easy have you found it to learn? Let's have a look. Give us the lowdown. I want to know.
I think the best way we got started, because me and my friends were the same. We found 9th edition, so the games would go all day. Like, it's like recommended game time or suggested length of game time was like 3 hours. Nah, not unless you were literally not talking to each other and doing nothing but rolling dice. And
was that just for setup?
Yeah. That's
you've
it.
Just 3 hours. You've decided where the train's gonna go. You've taken the mick out of each other a few times, and you put the pizzas on in the oven. And you're like, right, let's roll some dice. And you're like, I've got to go home in 2 hours, so better.
There's lucky, and the weird thing was my house, and I'm like, you guys need to get out of
you
my
guys
house.
Need to, fling it.
No, look, I think the big thing that it's definitely addressed, and this is early days for myself, but we kicked it off with the combat patrol stuff, which is all about, again, feels very Kill Team-esque in the way it's executed. So there's a lot less list building. You're literally getting the combat patrol box sets you can just grab off the shelf, and that's your team. It's got, unique data cards for each of the units in that. And they've kind of been tweaked. Some have been toned down. Some have been buffed up a little bit to try and get, I guess, like a bit of a consistent power level across all of them. I still think there's a few outliers that are a bit weak and a bit strong. But, of course, they're obviously doing it retrospectively. So there's only so much you can do. But in terms of the amount of models on the board, getting the dice rolling and then not having a million rules to learn, it was really good. It was really great to just jump straight in. The only negative probably if you are an experienced player or you have played a little bit before, especially the last edition, you will be annoyed because you'll feel like everything's been nerfed. There's that thing for a lot of people. Yeah, because you're like,
it's the reset, isn't it?
Yeah, in the last edition, this could do X, Y, Z. And it's like, yes, but Combat Patrol is designed to simplify. Yeah. So people still feel like they're being shortchanged, even though, no, it's just so you can play quicker. It's so there's less to remember it. So you don't embarrass yourself and forget each unit's special ability. So we got through games pretty quick, which was great.
Yeah. The more you talk about Combat Patrol, the more I think this might be the saving grace of Big Hammer. A Combat Patrol game. It's a one box, one and done army. But you can extend it beyond the Combat Patrol box and be like, you know what, I like this. How many points? Is it still 500 points? Am I thinking that correctly?
Well, I think in the old edition, yes, they were meant to point out roughly, but obviously new edition, new point system. And so that's why there's obviously been some tweaking with the rules and the specialties that they can take. I think the thing that's been the actual coolest fact of it, though, is if you're a Kill Team player, you probably have close to a Combat Patrol already of like one or two teams
100%.
without, if you're like us and have 5 or 6 teams, or, you've already halfway there on a lot of Combat Patrols, it wouldn't take much to get like that one vehicle or that one extra unit to now actually be able to get it and get it on the table. So I think that's the thing that's really cool, is it's definitely the bridge to more plastic crack in the Big Hammer world. It's a great sort of bridge for that. So that's the thing I think that's cool. Or if you don't know what team you want to play, which I think is the thing you're umming and ahhing about with the new edition, you can play two or three Combat Patrols, and playing each of those armies isn't a daunting prospect. You don't have to get 1,000, 2,000 points worth of the team to get a bit of a taste of what they might actually like play like. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it does feel like that's. I'm not sure if they are kind of leaning on the Kill Team style. Like I feel like Kill Team's been quite successful, and again, I say that knowing almost next to nothing, and that's a statement I can probably preface most of the statements I make in life in general with that.
If you
but
listen
it does
to Kill
feel
Team
like
Casuals, that's the premise of that show. Is that we love it. We know next to nothing.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. And I'm really not sure, but it feels like it's popular just because I hear a lot about it. But then we're quite in the Kill Team world, in the zone of Kill Team. But it feels like that is such a conscious effort to be more accessible, to say, buy this box, it's going to be, don't worry about the points, they're all leveled off against each other, which has been such it is the plague of Big Hammer. They're like I've got mates who, I'm sure everyone can relate to this. You've got a group of mates who play an edition of edition of Big Hammer. You play in 9th edition, and then a couple of books come out, and then one army just is wrecking everything, and everyone kind of gets a little bit upset. And again, I'm not someone who gets upset by the game, but you see it happen. People get a little bit like, what has happened to this army? It's ruined the game. The game balance is all over the place. And it's like, you know what? We're going to stop playing for a couple of months. Yes. And it kind of dies down a little bit. And then it's like, okay. And then it picks up as stuff happens. But that seems to me be the book bloat and the kind of codex creep, but I guess they're arguably the same thing. The unrelenting release schedule. If this was a stratagem, it would be called unrelenting release.
Yes. 2CP.
But it does
expensive.
Exactly. Is it expensive? Boy, if you're buying the books. But it feels like that is what it is. It feels like they are kind of a combat patrol scenario. For me, sounds perfect to get me into Big Hammer. And I know from a combat patrol, I am, like, as you say, just a couple of key units. I'm a death copter and a dreadnought away from a full game.
Yeah,
and that is super enticing. It's a good marketing strategy to be like, you want a nappy dreadnought. Just get a nappy dreadnought,
believe it,
and you've got a Kill Team. You've got a full on. You've gone from Kill Team to combat patrol to Big Hammer and Grey Knights, and I already want a Nemesis Dread Knight. Hell, I want 5. I already want them. Like, that's an easy sell to me. Yeah. If it was £10 a Nemesis Dreadnought, I'd have about 10 of the bastards. But they're not. They're like 25 quid, which isn't extortionate in terms of G-dubs.
Yeah.
But
comparatively,
I can see that being comparatively, I can see that being a real good sell to get people into Big Hammer. And I mean, apart from the dilemma of what do you actually collect? Because there's so many. With being a Kill Team player, I've got like the starter of almost every single type of army, but you've got to boil down to one. Who are you running out of interest at the moment in your? You've played a couple of games of Big Hammer now, Warhammer 40k. Who have you been running in these games? I'm interested.
The 3 armies I collect, obviously Space Marines, because if you play 40k, you have Space Marines.
You've already got them, yeah.
Got the Guard is the newest team that I've sort of started at the very end of the last edition. I've started that, but the bread and butter, the team that I've loved the most and I played the most until they made my brain explode in the last edition was the Gene Stealer cults. Because there's just something about the aesthetic of, mad miners being infected by aliens, very The Thing vibes, Alien, like so many. And not to mention, they've also got dune buggies and dirt bikes as like their main combat vehicles. So, I mean.
Effortlessly cool.
It's just, and they've got such Terminator 2 vibes on the bikes. Like, it's just.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
There's just so many cool, amazing things. But the thing I would say, especially in the last edition, I found, as not being a professional tournament player by any stretch of imagination, I found that the rules bloats and how hard it was to play the game, and then them already being quite a technical team as well, actually made it no longer fun to play. They kind of lost that. The way to win with them didn't feel like it was a way the Gene Stealer cult should play, in the way I felt about them anyway. I found it was like, and now they've sort of brought out these new rules in the new edition that feel very thematic, but obviously addressed one of the major weakness is they die if something looks at them for too long. If someone gives them a bit of stink eye, they die.
That feels kind of narratively appropriate for a cultist to be like,
Hugely appropriate. And it was that thing that in that 9th edition, the way I found it is that they played the objective really well. But if you attacked it or you fought, more often than not, you'd do a bit of damage, but you'd bounce and then you'd get hit back. And then that was kind of the end of it. So the way to get around that was to play a lot more shooty. And I didn't enjoy playing them purely as a shooting army because I like a bit of close combat. I want some Gene Stealers. I want some, the hybrids.
Get some aberrants. Run in with some aberrants.
And so many of the units weren't worth taking because of the points to what they did. There was just always, the other team always had a good answer for them. But in this one, things come back to life in the Gene Stealer Cult's army.
Really?
That's their rule. So like
they've become Necrons.
They have become.
Is this what you're telling me?
So
they become Necrons.
The story or the way it's is that it's like meant to be like the numberless hordes. And if you ever watched on Warhammer TV, there was the Blood Angels. I can't remember what it was called, but there was the Blood Angels series, and they basically go to a planet which has Gene Stealer cults.
Yeah,
and it's just this feeling of unrelenting waves of not very good soldiers, but they're just numberless. And that's kind of what this rule gives it. So it's like if the unit dies, if they're battle line, so your neophytes and your acolytes, they automatically go back into strategic reserves.
Oh, cool. And then you
put down your little blip marker on the battlefield. And then basically, so your opponent has a chance to, if they can get to that blip marker, so a little bit space hulk about it, they can actually destroy it. That unit doesn't get to come back.
Oh, man.
That marker. So there's this it's a real cat and mouse game of putting down that marker. Where do you put it? And then your opponent's got to do I go for an objective or do I destroy that unit? And then even all your other units in terms of infantry, they come back on a 4+. So even like your big hitting units get the chance to come back. And so all of a sudden, you have this feeling of this army that's just, like it felt a little bit oppressive for my opponent, I must say, on the weekend.
That's a very narrative play. Like that mission itself, imagine being a Space Marine or Guard, going up against that, and you're just like, you know what, this is the planet you're against. The planet has revolted, and now they're just coming. That's, you know what, stuff like this gets me into it. Like the idea that like the rule, because the one thing it's got is it's got complicated rules and it's got so many different factions, and because it's got factions and it wants them all to feel different to balance the game, it's super hard.
100%.
But I play Kill Team competitively. I go to tournaments. I'm such a loser. I care about my rankings. I look at it, I'm like, oh wow, I am actually ranked. I'm such what a cheese chaser.
Actually, just for those at home, those playing at home, Russ, what's the rank currently? Just because I don't
know. It's like top 20 in the UK or something like that. It's ridiculous, but
no big deal.
There's so much better players than me that it's a submarine tactic. The submarine tactic of not playing well and then scooping up a victory at the end. But I never think of Warhammer 40k, Big Hammer as a competitive game. And I think for me, that's how I enjoy it. I don't think in previous editions it's really worked competitive. I mean, I know I'm completely wrong because there's like a massive competitive scene, but the game has always felt, at least in my local meta when we've been playing it, way too unbalanced to be, because there's so many different options you can take. There's like Marines have so many different units, and you can just in past you've just been able to be like, well, this is the best unit, so I'll take that as many times as I can. And you just plug in the best unit because everyone's got all the pieces. But I love the idea of just having narrative games, so the balance doesn't matter, and if you're losing, you're up against it, like against a Gene Stealer. I love that idea. I wouldn't even mind being against that, just to be like the original idea of the old like historical wargaming is to recreate like original battles to see if you could do better than the original generals. Be like, could you get out of this when the original, Napoleon couldn't win this battle? Can you? You're against it. You're not going to be like it's an interesting, like it's a challenge, but it's not competitive because your opponent has the upper hand. But that's the point. They have the upper hand. Can you survive? What can you do? So I like to think of it in that way. And in that regard, I quite like it when they lean into it, because I know they'll have flatten rules to be like, everything has to pretty much be able to deal with stuff. You have to have a flyer, a unit that can destroy flyers. And I remember in previous editions, the bad thing that they had was certain units just couldn't kill other units because they didn't have enough strength and strength toughness thing. I remember having plague bearers because they had touch of rust, which meant on a 6 they could do something that would injure a tank, and nothing else in my army could. And I was like, well, worst case scenario, I've got these guys. I'll get some 6. I'm sure it was like touch of rust if I remember that correctly. They could do like damage.
As opposed to the touch of rust. Touch of rust is something very different.
Saucy. But yeah, like I do like a more narrative themed Big Hammer for me is a better game, even though I know it doesn't work as competitively.
Yeah,
I do like that.
That's from what I've seen so far. And again, this is very small sample size. I'm only sort of three games in, but each of my friends' teams that they've brought to have felt very thematic. They've felt on point, and that was definitely one of the things I started to really dislike about 9th edition, as you said, especially on the competitive. If you wanted to win, or you wanted to, even in your local friendly scene, if still there's obviously an edge of competitiveness. If you wanted to make the team that could win, it usually meant spamming something that therefore meant that you weren't necessarily playing to the theme of the army. It would be like, it's just about getting maximum of this one unit in, or this type of weapon. So early doors, I like that all the teams have felt very thematic. And I know there has been some big balance of people, it doesn't take, especially competitive players, a very long time to break the rules. There was already having to be patches and fixes.
They'll find a way.
Yeah, coming out before because someone had found out how to make Death Watch deal out 44 mortal wounds in a turn, and there was like, I think the Eldari are already broken because they've got a certain unit that can. There's going to be things like that, and I think inevitably there will be players who are hunting that. And that's fine. The competitive scene, that's kind of part of the charm for those people of why they play is how do I find the exploit? How do I find the way to get the most out of a team? But in terms of just for me who wants to play for a bit of competitive, but also enjoy the way the army plays, I think it's been great.
Do you think that's a problem with Big Hammer? I'm going to refer to it as Big Hammer just because it's how I think about it in my head. Warhammer 40k. I almost feel like, because it is a competitive game and that G-dubs are more tuned into to the community now, they do look at tournament results and see who's doing well, and they do try and fix armies. And sometimes it feels like they'll fix an army only for someone else to break another set of rules. And it feels like sometimes if you just left a game, and again, you don't want a stagnant game, but if you left it alone for enough time and got over people complaining about it, would it level itself out? Would people just be like, well, no, because people would always take the most. I guess if there's ever prizes,
nothing would change. That's the thing, And
if there's a prize for winning, someone's obviously going to take the best list, but then everyone takes that list. And then it's just boring. And then the scene is dead. So you have to do it. That's fair. When you think something through in your head, you're like, oh no, that's why they do it. They do it, otherwise it'd be a dead game.
Well, you talked a little bit about, obviously, again, go back to the mold of Kill Team though. We've seen that a lot with the FAQs, the balanced data slates, and using a lot of tournament results to change the teams.
Seems to be.
Take things. And I actually think they've handled. That's a good example of them actually overall handling it pretty well. We know a lot of people will sometimes be like, oh, that didn't do enough, or it didn't. It's not an easy thing to do, but I think the way they've now implemented, I won't say it's from a ground up new rule system. If you know how to play 9th edition, you can pick up and play 10th, and it does feel like the way that they will affect the game and the way they will do the FAQ and balance changes means that it's not going to add, fingers crossed, it won't add like rules bloat to everything else though. So as opposed to like, the last edition, it was like, you've got this, and then there's this team's got a counter, but then there's something else that can then -1 to that. But only if they've done, and it was, you had to do 8 different pluses and minuses before you could roll dice. It seems
I like synergy. Don't get me wrong. I like a bit of synergy, but I don't like the nosebleed synergy. Then when it gets too much and you're just like, I just want you start the game and you have a beer and you're like, I can't drink this, otherwise I will be unable to remember all of my rules, even some of my rules. I like the idea of the cards that they've been giving out. That felt very, very Kill Team-esque. That the operative cards that you're like, it's all. I mean, it even seemed to mirror the rule, like how the look of them, the aesthetic of them.
I'm when they had the for those cards. It's embarrassing. I just because like I always loved the idea of the book too. Like I've got an iPad. Like, for Kill Team, I run most of my rule stuff off an iPad because again now things have been updated, things have been FAQ'd. It doesn't make sense to carry 3 different books with the pen next to it of where I've had to white things out and and correct things. But I must admit that playing with the cards, I got them for my game this last weekend. It is pretty cool. It does feel quicker. It does feel nice having them sort of laid out as your team. And then, kind of good little visual reminders for rules as well. You'll be like, oh yeah, I've got that character and I'll put that card next to this unit because I know that character's in that unit. And then it helps you remember a few synergies, little things like that. And they look nice. The thing that was funny though was obviously got the 3 teams that I collect. The Space Marine one is literally like an old school Encyclopedia Britannica. Like it's so there are so many cards because
the Rolodex.
The Space Marines just have everything. Like I was
that's true.
If there was ever a good overview of where your model range is at or how many options you have, you just need to look at the card. It was like Space Marines was just dense. Guard wasn't too far off, and then the Gene Stealer Cult was like, you've got 10
They don't have a
sheets.
lot, do they? Gene Stealer. I mean, they've got a bunch. They had those the buggies, the bikes, and then it's aberrants, hybrids, brood brothers, or whatever they're called. There's no load. There's not. I mean, it's not Space Marines, but then no one is Space Marines.
No.
Yeah.
I think that's the cool thing too. The other integration of now things like the Brood Brothers with the Gene Stealer Cult is another great thing they simplified. Like it used to feel like a bit of it was never worth doing apart from a thematic point to take guard in a Gene Stealer Cult's army. But now it's just super easy to do. And there's not necessarily real big, like there used to be either drawbacks or lacks of synergy.
Yeah.
But as opposed to now, it actually feels like taking them is viable and worthwhile. So as opposed to being a rule that was there that no one used. The idea of a Gene Stealer Cult
building
Baneblade. Oh, a Baneblade. It's doable.
The Wormblade.
The Wormblade, if you will. I like it.
If you, I will. I will
write
allow.
That on the side of my Baneblade.
How is the list building? Because it's something that I have in current editions of Kill Team. I've lamented at the lack of list building, and in the previous, that's why I used to like the classic building a list for a game, but it has been something that's put me off. Just because Battlescribe's great, but when you first look at the book and you're kind of looking through and there's all these detachments, how is it looking these days?
I think
for list building.
Again, to quote their favorite slogan now, simplified but not simple. Is a pretty good way to describe it, because as opposed to having to worry about detachments and then that costing you command points, so finding that balance between getting units in you want, losing command point versatility in the game, it's the only requirement is basically you can take every data card of a unit or whatever 3 times, unless it's your battle line, so your main troop kind of units. Those you can take up to 6, and that includes if you then take dedicated transports as well.
Okay, that seems a lot better.
And then there's epic or named heroes, which are like obviously the big things, and they're obviously only one of those as well. So you can't have three Gillimans is a no-no, unfortunately.
I mean, unless you're Fabulous Bill and you've cloned a bunch of them, and you're like,
I prepared earlier.
Exactly. Woo. Gilliman, I choose you, Pokemon style, and he's throwing them all out there.
So
that would be pretty cool.
That's actually pretty cool. It's good. The new app so far is pretty good as well. And look, I feel like I'm shilling a bit for them, but I just feel like there's been so much negative.
I didn't want to say it.
Yeah,
but
you disgust
me. But we do need to crap on them a little bit after this, this big hard sell.
I've got a list.
We'll go. We'll finish the shill and then we'll talk some rubbish about them.
But the app so far is pretty good. There's definitely things in it that are wrong. That like when I do my Gene Stealer Cult thing, it tells me that the war gear on like 6 of my heroes is incorrect, even though it's the default loadout and stuff like that. So there's going to be issues. There's going to be bugs, but I'm confident they'll be fixed. But in terms of literally, if you've just got an idea, you can just sit there, get the app, throw all your units in. It's got links to all the rules too. So it's like, oh, this has got an ability that does lethal hits or whatever.
Yeah.
You can actually just click lethal hits and it tells you what that means. So yeah.
Wow.
Which is stupid.
It's like they've been going on Wikipedia.
Yeah, right? It's like, wow, this is only 20 years late. But it's here now. And it looks nice. It's pretty easy to move around. There's a lot of drop downs. You got a lot of time. You're like to expand things. A bit of that. It's a bit, but in terms of list building, and at the moment with the indexes, most upgrades and point things are just free. So you're not having to go into units.
That's nice.
Yeah, you're not having to go
be like,
go,
we'll take them with these guns or something.
Yes, you can go. What's the best thing? Okay, I'm going to give my leader that plasma pistol because right now, while it's index, it's free. I'm not sure what will happen when codexes come out. I hope that doesn't change because it just, for me, I don't like the micro managing. Where you're down to 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, like this is the part where where the shilling has to stop briefly.
Yes, go for it.
Because as excited as I am, this is me. It's my zone. This is
take your shoes off.
There we go. So as excited as I am to give it a go and to really try and like the reason I'm doing it now and not later is because I can only anticipate that everything's coming. Like the codexes are coming. Like I don't think they've fixed any quote unquote problems in terms. But again, we don't know because it's not happened. But the main problem that I think is universal is that people aren't really happy with the next codex is the best army, and that just keeps 100%. Happening. Yeah. And I get it, and I don't get it. I mean, obviously, I understand that they might not be. I mean. I guess I don't subscribe to the conspiracy that they do it intentionally to make sure that people who are competitively minded buy the next army. But I get that it's got some credence. Like, but but it's not happening. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm just saying it happens. I'm not saying it's intentional, but it does seem to be that way. But like, I'm not. Again, it's you know what I mean, like. But I guess that's going to be if I don't get a game in before the first codex happens, it's going to be a real worry that once that snowball starts and they start 100%. Chaining out those new books, that the buy-in's going to be too great. And again, I would only have to focus on one army. Because I think unlike Kill Team, which is the tapas of 40k, you can sample. You can have a little whoosh, a little bit of you, a little bit of you. Thank you very much. A little morsel of Harlequins. Yum yum yum. I'll have some pickled eggs of Death Guard. A nom nom nom. Ooh, and it's all lovely. I
would not eat those pickled eggs.
They're not looking so great. But like now you're sitting down and you're having a big old dinner. You're chowing down on some roast Big Hammer. And it is. I forgot what I was talking about, but it is. And now I'm just talking. Now I'm just thinking about food.
Now that's casual.
Now I just want to roast dinner, and that's how it goes. But like, you can't divide your attention when it comes to Big Hammer. At least I certainly can't, like I do in Kill Teams. You have to pick an army and go for it. So I guess in that regard, when it comes to Kill Team, I do find myself thinking I should probably pick up that army so I can sample it. Whereas 40k, I might be like, I'm just going to buy the book that's applicable to me. Either it'll happen now or it'll happen in 7 years, 2 weeks before 11th edition comes out.
Yes.
And that's when I'll get my rules.
Yes.
One of those two things is going to happen, basically. But like, because I'm never going to play it competitively. But I understand the gripe from competitive players that there's a lot of releases, and if you're a competitive player, you kind of have to keep on top of those releases to have a chance in the competitive scene, which is easier in a smaller scene like Kill Team.
Yeah, the ability to change a team per tournament is so much more easy in Kill Team. You're like, you know what? My team that I was playing, I really enjoyed them, but they're having a real rough time. Things have gone against them. Yeah. I'm just going to pick up a different team and give them a try. Or I'm going to try. I know this team.
20 quid.
20 quid. Yeah. I'm not sure how much that is in dollary dues in Australia, but
$1 million. But like, I kind of do get I do understand why people get upset that like they've dedicated maybe a couple of editions worth of collecting and hobbying to get this army, and the rules get released and they're like, these rules are rubbish or these rules are unthematic, and I kind of hate the way they play. They're not how I play my army. I can't just pick up another army.
Yeah.
Like that's a big old investment of time and money to get your army in a position where you can go. And yeah, like casual players, I'm not going to have more than 2 armies.
Yep.
I mean, I say that now, but I said that about Kill Team.
You do have an issue.
So I'm looking at all the boxes of Kill Teams. So I mean, it wouldn't take a lot to get them into full armies. I've probably got orcs. Anyway, a lot going on.
It's interesting as well when you talk about like that collection and that like the build up too, because I mean, Death Guarder is a great example of a team in this new index that, like, by the looks of it, have copped sort of the raw end of the rule stick, if you will. So
yeah,
which is funny because they went from being quite good for a long time, and probably one of the most in my mind one of the most thematic armies for quite a while too, in the way they played and all that stuff. Whereas this one, everyone's like, they don't feel like they should, like their rules don't really reflect what they're meant to be. So yeah, it's interesting. And now you go, well, if you're a Death Guard player, well, when's your codex come out, and how long does that wait? And does it
that's the thing, to get that flavor.
Yeah. So it goes both ways with that too. Like if it's like, I don't want the release schedule to be too intense, too quick, because I just feel like that probably shakes it up too much. It'd be one team that's powerful, and then just as everyone gets the next one, and then it becomes that same issue we had in 9th.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you were Death Guard, you'd be like, can it be tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a real. It feels to me, Kill Team is a game that exists in small vacuums. They'll release 2 teams, then you'd be like, okay, this is the zone of Kill Team. It got a little bit bigger. And then it'll be nothing for a while as it settles, and then it goes, boom, too many teams got a little bit bigger. Whereas 40k is always like, here's all the armies at any one point, and then it's just like, some of them have changed. But it's just, they exist in this big swirling vortex of what's going to happen with them. And like I say, every now and then it's just like, the rules change, whereas it doesn't seem that drastic in Kill Team. Like, it feels like more of a vacuumed game where it's all locked in. I have to ask, is it... Again, this is someone who's not opened the rule book yet. I assume I've got it though. I've got the rule book. I assume it's not alternative activations. Is it still you go, I go, full turn?
The activation is still as per the like you go, I go. But
all my movement, all my shooting, boom.
Yes, but the big difference is that now so many of the stratagems and unit abilities are now sort of activated at different times. So there's a lot more reactive things. So like Overwatch can be done in the movement phase. It doesn't necessarily have to be if your unit's getting charged. So if someone moves within a certain distance, you can be like, "Oh, right, you're getting a bit close. Style. I'm going to shoot at you." And then like there's some units that have abilities that go, a model moves within X, you can move away, or so different things like that. You can even spend CP to bring in your reinforcements in your opponent's turn as well. So although it's still not what I love about Kill Team, that back forward of what makes it feel a bit more chess and it keeps you in the game the whole time. Yeah, it does mean that you are, you're not like, just let me know when I need to roll some saves, please.
Yeah, that was always the thing. You're playing someone who plays orcs, and it's like, it's the orc movement phase, and it's just like, you know what? I came to the board and I saw that you don't have those movement trays for your orcs. So it's your turn. I'm going to get a burrito. I'll be back in 40 minutes. Let me know how the movement turn went, and I'll pick up some dice and roll them. But yeah, that was always the issue. I think I was 7th edition I was playing though, so it's changed a lot since then, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay.
No, don't get me wrong, there's still teams that are going to be like that, but I would have loved to have seen some alternating even that what we've sort of seen in Age of Sigmar tours that like, I guess initiative is up for grabs each turn, like where it's like there's a chance for you to get a double turn, which might also have the opposite effect. That might be awful in 40k if that orc guy has to move twice.
Yeah, I think that's real. I'm surprised that they've kept that in because that feels real rough for a competitive scene to be like, because it's too much chaos. You could have 2 goes in a row, and if you're like a shooting army, like, and again, I'm just going to throw Tau out. I doubt they've changed Tau so much that they're no longer shooty. But like two turn what? Like if you get your opponent goes. You go, and then you go again as Tau after they've moved into range, you might just win there and then. Yeah. So it's pretty good. But like, I could imagine them taking in that whole, when you're in Age of Sigmar, you charge, and you basically take turns in resolving combat, as opposed to if you charge, they go first, and once all the charging units are gone, your opponent and you pick who resolves combat first. I thought that might have come in, but I'm guessing it's not. It's still you charge, you fight. Boom.
Yeah, they've simplified that again too, because of course there was a lot of contentious moments because there was fight first, fight normal, fight last. So and there was lots of units that were bringing that to the table. Where in 9th edition, where, you could be like, that unit can't fight to the end, and then it was sort of implied that if a unit charged, it technically had fight first, but then people didn't know where it said that in the rule book. And then if they've got fight first, but they've got fight first, who fight? And it did get quite complicated. You knew it was dangerous when there had to be like different like charts to show you the order of play. And people could still find ways to rules lawyer their way in the crevices. So it does seem
not quite the same as that whole weapon skill in the old when it used to have like weapon skill versus weapon skill, and you had like, I'm weapon skill 5, you're weapon skill 4, so I hit on little Venn diagram, like I have 3s, okay, go. Or your weapon skill 2, I'm weapon skill 6, so you can't hit me.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
So
it's just like done.
So save your dice. So I feel like they've simplified that. Fight last is just not a thing, or at least so far. Okay. I say that now. So it's
wait for the codexes to come out and we'll see. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So
but the core rules, they seem a lot more. Would you say from 9th to 10th, the core rules, all rooms, if there are rooms in which the
some
rules
of the rooms
are
quite casual.
Nice. Okay. But the core rules, they seem a little bit more solid. Would you say?
The thing I would say is like a good example for me that might be one of my biggest gripes, and I still have this with Kill Team a bit too sometimes, is terrain rules. Sometimes,
yes, I was going to ask
of rules lawyering and rules finagling and creating moments that neither one player always has a bad time because of. I would find they've done a really good job of simplifying them. Like to work out
really that's good.
Is in cover or isn't in cover, how to get cover, and even the fact that it's not, there used to be some terrain that would make you -1 to hit, some that would just give you regular cover save, some it's all pretty much just like there's one type of cover, and you're either in it,
that's good,
or you're not. Kind of feel into it. So
that's spot on, because it feels like all the games where I've had, there's been some discussion about cover, because one of the worst things they ever had was is the model 25% obscured or 50% obscured, because that means there's a difference, and it's just like just simplify it. If there's anything in between the line of sight to the base, or but then it would be like, well, you can't see my base because there's some flock. And it's like, oh my,
there's a stone.
I always used to hate any interaction to do with terrain that was not simplified. I've never played an edition of 40k where I feel like that was done well, and I mean well as in, because I don't mind it when they're like, I can see you through the windows, I can shoot you through the windows. I'm like, okay, thematically that works. And then there's some editions where like, there's no such thing as windows. You can't shoot them through the windows. And it's sort of like, as long as it's clear, I guess I don't mind, but you're producing all this amazing terrain. I get that you want to be able to sell terrain based on how it looks, and having interactive terrain rules makes more sense, because you've got amazing terrain. Have rules that, utilize that terrain. But God, it's been so hard to play that game with terrain and not get annoyed at being like, well, he's 25%. Well, he's 50%.
Yeah.
Well, his base can't be seen, and it's like,
I mean, it's pretty clear. Like now, it's just like, if any part of your model can see any part of their model, you can shoot at them.
Yeah, and I prefer that.
And I mean, I know sometimes there is some weird moments where it's like it's a wing over a bit of bit of terrain, or it's a sword through a window. I get that there'll be moments where people will still be like, "Oh, that's a bit crap," but it is if everyone is playing on that same playing field and everyone understands it, then it's fair. You know, that's the thing I'd say about it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It does always feel like terrain interactions are some of the biggest sticking points when it comes to Big Hammer, or what I've noticed.
And I said, still, I get that in kill teams, especially when you play open board. There's still people, you know, when you look at non-reciprocal firing, you look at when people are on vantage points trying to shoot people on the ground. There's still, you know, I still think that can be really hairy at times, and people's understandings depending who you're playing in which area and how long they've played, and yeah, I still think there's. Just in general, simple is better for me. you can or you can't, and just
you can or you can't. Yeah. Move on. Just shoot.
Exactly. Now, for those who are new to the show, if you're a 40K fan just tuning in for the first time, we have a little game we play. A little game that undersells it. We have a fantastic extravaganza of battling minds called Legions of Russ, invented by our very own Russ from GFN Gaming. Russ, you know what? Let's just play the intro for first timers, and then
let's play the intro exactly, and then we can go into it. Let's play it up over itself, as they say.
Good luck to us. We'll only say this once. It's finally time for Legions of Russ.
Magical, just magical. If that's your first time listening, you're welcome.
Oh yeah, enjoy those savory tones of our not yet present Ben, or John Mayer, one of the two. Yeah, it's still unclear who actually penned it and who actually performed it. One of the two. Welcome to Legions of Russ. It's that time again, or it's that time for the first time again, where we test the bonds of madness as a community that we share in this game show of sorts. I read out of sorts. Please, of sorts. I read out a clue / riddle / cryptic mind puzzle dredged forth frothing and naked from the septic tank that is my brain for you, our contestants, to guess upon. It could be a guard regiment, a legion of space marines, but regardless, it is likely to be an obscure one. But who knows, it could be your favorite. In this game, contestants, and if you can hear me, that means you shout out your name as buzzers to hurl guesses at me, your friendly host. We have victory conditions. They are as follows. First, we have a partial guess. If you can partially guess the correct answer, you gain 1 victory point. So by that, I mean if you can get half of the regiment name or a word out of the regiment name. If you can do this before clues are given, you will get 2 victory points for your partial guess. So if you can guess from the initial clue without any follow-up clues, you can guess part of it correctly. That's 2 victory points. And then we have the completion guess. If you make the completion guess and you score 1 victory point as a bonus, and if you're able to score the full, partial, and completion guess at the same time without clues, you can score an additional victory point for the completion tack-up. And if that made any sense to you, then your names are probably not Rhys. So let's go to the guys and see how Rhys is feeling about today's game. It is going to be a Rhys versus the people. So we are live on Twitch when we stream this. And if you're in the chat, you have a chance to beat Rhys at
not
the
physically.
Game.
Please, no physical assault.
You could throwing guesses and fists right at Rhys. So we've got Rhys versus the people. We have in today's...
It's got its own graphic. It's a big deal.
It's got its own graphic. It's insane. We have... We've got an Imperium and we've got a Chaos here. We've got 2. We have potentially the shortest ever Legions of Russ. I'll save that to the end. That's just a real quicker. Just a small one.
Just a bit.
Just a little.
I better hide the chat. So obviously, if you
can hide the chat, just in case.
It's you guys in the chat. Yeah, you just type your answers. Obviously, by typing it, popping it in the chat live, that your name's already there. So that's you yelling out your name. Today, usually this is obviously a test of wits between me and Ben, our other host, but obviously he's not here. So on those days, the chat is tagged in. It's Rhys versus the people. And it's your collective hive mind versus my backwards slow mind.
Yeah. So we have, pardon me.
Gesundheit.
If you're listening at home, feel free to shout out your guesses. Take time to think about the clues and have a guess and keep yourself a little running tally of what you're getting. But right now, right here, we're going to go into the first Legions of Russ. Like I say, this is the first time playing. It is a cryptic clue / riddle thing, and it might.
Have you got an example of you that you can use, just like just because if it's your first time hearing this, you will think Russ is broken.
I used to have an example one. I used to have an example one. I'm not sure that I could find it right now.
Okay.
Maybe. Here we go. I've got an example one. Okay, so here we go. Here is an example Legion of Russ for you to so we go through it. So we've got Celebrants. So Celebrants is this a Space Marine chapter, and the clue for Celebrants was this notable figure in entertainment, celeb, had an absolute meltdown on TV and was screaming and shouting about the injustice of it all. Rants. Celeb rants. Celebrants. Celebrants. And then upon guessing it, you would get a little detailed description about the Celebrants.
You get to learn.
But that is basically, that is basically how it works. Effectively. That is a Legion of Russ example. Par exemple. But here we go. Are you ready, Rhys? How are you feeling?
My finger is on my button, which is my voice box. Let's do it.
Okay. It's a 2-word, and we're going for a chaos. Okay. 2-word chaos. A forest this color produces the best cakes by far. Fee, fo, fum. To guess this Legions of Russ, you'll need to be very virtuous, kind, and a patient person.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I think we've got a note in chat. Diddy said we don't have the chat heavy hitters here today, so this might be a better showing for Rhys.
This is an opportunity for someone else to.
This is up. You.
This is for someone in the chat. This is your. Don't rely on the regular guns you have in there. This is someone to have a Michael Jordan flu game and just out of the woodwork. Let's. I know Ben's not here, but can we just say it?
We'll say it back slowly,
slower, just for Ben.
So a forest this color produces the best cakes by far. Fi, fo, fum. To guess this Legions of Russ, you'll need to be a very virtuous, kind, and patient person. So it's 2 words. I'll give you the free breakdown, which is the first word is a forest this color produces the best cakes by far.
So Rhys,
and then the second part. Oh, he's going in for the partial.
The first
is he going for the full?
Is black. This is a partial.
Partial. Black Forest Gatto. That is correct. So the first, so I guess technically that's 2 victory points. You've had the partial without clues. So the first word is black. So you're just looking for the second word, which is fi, fo, fum. To guess this Legions of Russ, you'll need to be a very virtuous, kind, and patient person. So we've got the first word, black.
Virtuous.
I mean, there's quite a lot of chaos.
Yeah,
space chapters that begin with black. Exactly, it's not Black Legion.
Okay, all right.
It's an obscure-ish one.
Yeah, a kind person. That's tripping me out.
You might be something that you say about someone. Unless are we going into clue territory?
Ooh, well, how's the chat going? Is chat getting amongst it? Are they throwing some answers?
There's no guesses so far. No guesses so far. This might be a clean sweep.
I'm feeling
sweep for Rhys.
I'm feeling confident.
Rhys against the people. He might go.
Rhys versus himself. This is Legions of Russ.
This is the mirror match. Yeah.
Just Rhys.
This is how it used to be.
If I lose to myself,
used to not have the chat.
I'm gonna have to go.
Oh.
Ooh.
Very close. We got a guess in there. Richard Warrior Princess. It's not It's not. But I see what you've done. The first bit is very, yeah. Okay, yeah. I do like. Yeah, you're very spot on with the first part of that second guess. It's just not that. But you're on the right thinking. So it's fi, fo, fum. To guess as Legions of Russ, you'll need to be a very virtuous, kind, and patient person. Shall I move into clue territory?
Yeah, I think I'm going to need
I'll move into... So, the first section of this... you went for a Ben Uzi. There's a Ben Uzi guess. It's a solid guess. You're in the right ballpark, Rich. You're in the right ballpark. So, this is something... Fi, fo, fum is something that the classic fairy tale giant says, but it's missing a part.
Yeah.
Fi, fo, fum.
Rhys, I've got the start of that. I think I've got...
Okay. Well, if you think you've got the start of that, we'll go... The second thing is something you might say to someone. You need to be a very virtuous, kind, and patient person. If someone was all those things, you might refer to them as this.
Kind.
And this is... what you're looking for is the abbreviated way of writing that out. So you might say, oh, you're an absolute... And you abbreviate that to finish off the fi, fo, fum section. But it's not. It's not that, but that's a good guess.
Damn it, now I want to know what that is. Now
I know what you mean.
I feel like I know what the end is, but now that's thrown off what I thought the start was.
Oh.
That makes sense. I'm going to talk out loud because I think it's important.
Go for it. Go for it.
Because I thought the
think
first
out your
part
process.
of the second word was fee. Because it was like fee, fi, fo, fum.
I would say that is correct. It starts with fee.
Yeah, and then I was thinking that then what you just said then, that the second part would be saints. But I just don't think fee saint facade, black facade.
It's how would you write out if someone was a saint? How do you write out saint?
Rhys, it's the black fist.
Is it?
No.
Say the first part again. Say the first part out.
Black fists.
So it's
feasts. Black feasts. Black feasts. It's the black feast.
It's the black feast.
It's the black feast.
It's the black feast. It's the black feast. We got there. It's the Black Feast, sir. The Black Feast are obviously...
That is way more chaos. That is way more chaos than Black Fist.
The Black Fist. Yeah. That could just be the Imperial Fist.
Yes.
The Black Fist is a warband of Chaos Space Marines that splintered from... And you might not get this. You know what? Have a guess. Who are the Black Feast splintered from? No checking.
Ooh,
Who do you think? Who do you think? I don't think this is obvious.
I'm going to say the Blood Angels.
See, that's what I would think, but it's not. It's actually the World Eaters.
Oh,
so they're traitorous traitors.
More traitorous.
So they're
is it possible
more
to be more traitorous?
Well, these guys do it, and I'll tell you for how. Because it is. You know what? It's quite Revenant-y, which is obviously the Blood Angels. OG Blood Angels, because these guys are a cannibalistic subsect of the World Eaters who devour the bodies, because there's more than one, right? Of the fallen after battle as a final mark of disrespect for their weakness. So that's the only difference to the Revenants. The Revenants would eat the bodies to basically reincarnate the person's memories, whereas these guys are like, that dude's weak, let's eat him as a final disrespect.
Which is kind of turn you into?
Pretty metal.
Do you know what I'm going to turn you into? Poop. You're going to be poop.
But yeah, there was a butcher horde that they fought alongside, which was like a massive World Eater war band led by the amazing Khan the Betrayer, who's, not the first choice. When someone's like, who shall lead us into battle? You don't instantly think, who's that dude that's second name is Betrayer? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on now. What's his Khan the Loyal? No, that guy,
We've got two choices. We've got Ben the leader or Khan the Betrayer. And you're like, ooh, how cool's the Betrayer sound?
That's the man. That's the man I want giving the orders. So he led them into they basically slaughtered the Imperial world of Amathul. And this is where it comes full circle here, man, because they fought against the Blood Angel Space Marine chapter.
Who then?
There you go.
Them.
Who then ate them, but as a mark of respect, and then they in turn killed the Blood Angel that ate them as a mark of respect to eat them as disrespect. To be like, there you go. It's kind of this whole Ouroboros thing where everyone's kind of. Have you seen Human Centipede?
Well, I was going to say the plot of The Lion King.
Same.
I've gone very different directions. I was like Circle of Life, and you've gone Human Centipede.
I've gone people eating each other. So that is a Legions of Russ. We've got one more, and we'll play it because it is a 2-word Legion of Russ. So let's play the intro up over itself, sir.
Good luck to us. We'll only say this once. It's finally time for Legions of Russ.
I never get sick of that song. Love it.
But
All right.
It's getting married to that song. So
why did you marry
this? It? I'll marry the song whilst the song plays. So this one is a little bit different. We've never done this before. It's never been done. As I say that, I'm trying to. Well, you can't be.
Are you writing it? Are you writing it live? Because that's what it looks like is happening right now.
I'm trying to find it.
Oh,
I'm trying to find it again. Oh no!
Is this because I made you look up the example? So then, in searching for the example, you lost the one you actually.
You ruined it for me. Yeah, it's all gone.
I have that effect.
You know what? It'll be okay. It'll be okay. You know what? I think I found it again. So this is the first time we're using one of these. We are going for a knight.
Oh,
a notable. It's a night world.
A night.
So where so a night world are worlds that house titans. So they're almost all of them have these feudal cultures and cultures and societal structures, very similar to the Middle Ages. And knights have these ancient oaths of fealty to their world. And this is one of those worlds, and it is a 2-word riddle.
2-word, okay.
It's never been done.
No.
We've never had a 2-word riddle before. So, Rhys, you're currently winning against the chat, but if someone's at home listening, you've still got a chance, obviously. Score it yourself. If you got it before Rhys got it, score yourself up. But, Rhys, we're going into the shortest Legions of Russ ever.
Okay, I'm excited.
Okay, it's 2 words.
2 words.
Stoned stone.
Stoned stone.
Stoned stone. It is a notable night world, and the clue is stoned stone. It's technically 1 word, but I think you'd be fair in separating it out into 2 words in order to get it. Again, if you're guessing at home, say out your name is your buzzer. Stoned stone. I'm guessing someone out there has read a book that involves this notable night world. They are
in a book. I should have read it then.
I assume they're in a book somewhere. They must be.
Rhys.
They're all in books. Oh!
If I get this.
The ultimate snipe. Oh, Diddy's got there first. Sorry. Diddy got there first. So, Cat wins this one.
I'd said my name. It was on hold. It was implied. It was on hold.
I was away from the chat at the time. When I came back to the chat, it was already there. So I think Diddy's got it. But
only Diddy will know.
You might,
for sure.
You might not have this anyway. So fire away.
See. I was going to say High Rock.
It is indeed High Rock. Yeah, apparently Diddy's confirming. He's definitely typed before you said your name. But
you would say that, Diddy. You would say that.
High Rock, indeed. The once verdant world of High Rock is the ancestral home of House Viridian. Sadly, during the Horus Heresy, the world was ravaged and laid to waste by the Emperor's children. And when they ravage, they go.
You don't get.
They go full hog.
Yeah, you don't get.
That's you need more than a sit down and a cup of tea after that. They descended on High Rock after House Viridian's decision to abandon the cause of War Master Horus. So they initially sided with War Master Horus, as you do, because they're probably out on the fringes, and you know what? He's closer, and he's like,
and he seems
with
like
me, and they're
such a good guy.
You know what? In those first 3 books, he's such a legend. You love him. I mean, in one of those books, he does kill, but he's still nice about it. He's still got he's still wildly charismatic. Anyway, they try to seek forgiveness from the Emperor of Mankind, and you know what they got instead? They got an Emperor's children ravaging. Ravaging. Harsh, but fair. But that is the night world of House Viridian, and that's High Rock. Yeah.
I dig it. I think the night lore is some of it's actually really cool. I think it's a good unexplored kind of part of the Imperium more, and I'm liking that they're getting a bit more going on. I think that it's really cool.
There was one of the books in the 30K Horus Heresy, but I think it was the Siege of Terror. It felt a little bit slow when I was going through it, and it was mainly house stuff. But I did enjoy. I do quite enjoy some of the night when they talk about the knights and they go into the these vassal states. They're kind of the feudal systems, and they're riding horses, and they're
it's like
all
Game of Thrones with giant robots.
It is kind
There's
of
a bit of that
massive robots,
intrigue, and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. I dig it.
Yeah, I like that.
Russ, that was it.
There you go. That's Legions of Russ.
A successful Legions of Russ to kick off the 40K casuals. I appreciate you bringing that to the table. Chat, congratulations on winning half of it. We'll split the biscuits.
I was going to say, technically they got like 4 victory points. Diddy got 4 victory points.
Okay, Russ,
sniping
you ruined a beautiful moment.
So the chat wins, technically speaking. Technically speaking, the chat wins. But I didn't want to take that away from you. So let's play the intro up over your tears, and then we can gather ourselves and come back. Good luck
to us. We'll only say this once. It's finally time for Legions of Russ.
Well, I've wiped the tears away. I've had a quick shower.
Right there. And you know what? I've awarded an extra half point for Diddy because his answer did make me laugh. So technically, it's even more of a whitewash. But here we go. We're back from Legions of Russ.
Well,
Rhys versus the people, and the people soundly try. You know what happened?
What
you got? What High Rock got? You got ravaged by the Emperor's children.
Forgiveness. I held out my hand, and I got ravaged.
You slapped it away, like my brother when he was offering me the 2nd edition without the cutout cardboard bit.
Get out of here!
Back you go, spare to the heir. That's what I said. Even though he's the older brother, and that would technically make me the spare to the heir, it's applicable. I am the favorite. And he's not here, and he doesn't listen.
No, exactly. Yeah. He really supports the show. Big fan. Well, that's kind of it for the show today. I think we're gonna, after such a upsetting Legions of Russ, I need to leave. But a couple of things to touch on for those new to the show. We spend all our spare time in the Battle Brothers Tabletop Discord, so we really, really encourage you guys to head over there, join the conversation. Lots of Kill Team chat, but there are also 40K chat channels in there as well. Also, chat channels specific to the podcast as well. So you can tell us what you like, what you didn't like, talk nonsense. We'll put all that stuff up there as well. So it's a great community to be a part of. There's great hobby stuff always going on. Speaking of which, we do have a hobby challenge that's kicking off or has kicked off this month. But it's a great one. And the best part is it works for both Kill Team and 40K because it's an inquisitorial kit bash challenge. For those that know,
everyone loves Inquisitors.
We did an Inquisitor kit bash right back at the very start of the Kill Team Casual stuff, way back. And it was awesome.
Before Kill Team Casuals.
I think, it was. It was just in general,
it was before. It was
wow.
Ryan from Command Point made an Inquisitor, and he challenged Ben, who then challenged me, and then I challenged you, and then you threw a challenge out there that's yet to be answered, and we need to see what happened there.
Yes,
but we were all making Inquisitors, and now there's an official. I say official like anything we'd use official, but there's an official
wink,
air quotes inserted, wink, kit bash challenge run by the one and only Emmanuel, Orc King himself.
Yes.
So I'm really intrigued to see what kind of Orc Inquisitor we get.
There'll be a trench coat.
That's going to be amazing.
I reckon.
Some sort. 3 grots in a trench coat with a monocle. That works.
That would work,
yeah, an inquisitorial kit bash. Yeah. Rhys,
there's obviously a prize involved as well. So by the end of the month, you'll see on the Battle Brothers Discord, Battle Brothers Tabletop Discord, there is a channel where there is obviously, this is in the Kit Bashed Inquisitor 2023 part of that. And then there's also a challenge submissions one where you'll pop in your final submission. So yeah, basically you can post as you go. There's some rules as well in that chat as well. So make sure you check it out. The final submission date is July 31st, and you can win a Kill Team box of your choice. So again, works for both Kill Team and 40k because there's things like Kassakan. Pretty much most Kill Team models now also translate over. So this is
Corsairs,
a great way. Corsairs, a great way to build up your army and stuff like that as well, and a great way just to do more hobbying and have a bit of focus, bit of purpose with all this new stuff going on. So
laser focus.
Check that out. Obviously.
Oh, what? Sorry. Someone just said, Richard was like, can we do a cardboard cutout Kit Bash challenge? Amazing. Oh God, I'd love that. I would love that. An entire army of cutout cardboard Kit Bash.
That would be voted very highly by me. 1 for creativity, 2 for nostalgia, and 3 for sheer get stuffedness to everyone else.
Oh man, I might just take pictures of actual models, put them through Photoshop, and like just print them out like that. That would be pretty cool.
Oh,
I spent all my money as well. Yeah, Leviathan.
Yes, exactly. That'll do it. Also, obviously, if you listen to this on the podcast format, there is the YouTube channel, which is Casual Wargamers, which will now have this show as well as the Kill Team Casuals and other content coming in the future as well. So please head over there, subscribe, follow along. A big thank you to all our Patreons as well who have been supporting us. I mean, we didn't consult them about doing 40k content, so they might be mad. We'll talk to them we'll talk to them after the show. But don't worry, Kill Team Casuals, if you are a regular fan, it's not going anywhere. We will be back doing that content as well. We just wanted to have something else to talk about as well, because it's a game that for Russ, he's getting into it. Ben's getting back into it, and I've been playing a while. We think it's pretty exciting, and we just love the hobby. So that's why we thought we wanted to have a little bit of a chat about it too.
Absolutely.
Thanks to everyone in the chat. You guys, as always, when we are live, obviously on Twitch. So thank you to everyone who jumps in on the chat, gets involved. They get to play Legions of Russ live, and if they bring funny shenanigans, we bring it into the show. So it's really, it's a supportive network. Thanks to Russ from GFN Gaming for joining us.
You're too kind. And thanks, Rhys from Threes to Wound and Kill Team Casuals, obviously.
Oh, yes. I've heard of that. I hear good things. And obviously to our wayward co-host, Ben from Battle Brothers Tabletop. He'll be back next week. We still love you, buddy. That's the show. We'll see you. We'll see you next week.
He's okay. As always, a big figure 4 footlock of love from us to our patrons who keep the singlets warm and the talc on standby. A big thanks to Kill Team Ken, Roscoe88, Justin Kung, Vulture B, Average Joe 27, Kill Team Cascadia, Craig F. Lincoln, George, Alan Chapman, Hillux, Swanky McMofo, Stooge Co, Admiral Rudy, Michael Richards, Gordon Ballantyne, Dave B, Io Adrian, Storm Owl, Jack Whittingham, Trilly Chatterjee, Vincent Cerruti, Beans, Mark Schuller, Matthew Alessana, and Gaston. And don't forget to submit a face pic if you want to be part of the Royal Rumble t-shirt.